Welcome to Rise Up Voices from the Front Lines, your window into relationships, identity, safety, emotional awareness, regulation and intelligence, unleashed potential, passion and purpose.
Welcome back to Rise Up Voices from the Front Lines, and this is a Trauma-Informed Leadership Series episode. I'm your host, Krista Fee, and today we are beginning a journey through what I call the compass of leadership. Every compass has 4 points that orient direction, and for leaders, the very first point, the one that makes all the others possible, is self-awareness. Why? Because if we can't see ourselves clearly, we can't lead clearly. And in trauma-informed leadership, self-awareness is not a luxury. It's literal survival. So I want to tell you a story about an officer who didn't know his own impact. Years ago, I met a police officer who considered himself approachable. This was the words he used to describe himself. He cracked jokes, he liked sarcasm, and he thought it made him relatable. But when I interviewed his team, I heard something very different. They said that we never know what mood he'll be in. His sarcasm cuts like a knife. We feel like we're walking on eggshells. When I told him this, he was stunned. "That's not who I am," he said. And I told him, "It may not be who you think you are, but it is how people experience you." That moment hit him hard, and it should hit all of us, because leadership isn't about our intentions. It's about our actual impact. And self-awareness is the only thing that bridges the two. So what is self-awareness? Self-awareness has 2 dimensions. Internal awareness, that's your knowing your emotions, your triggers, your strengths, your values, and your blind spots. And then there is external awareness, which is your understanding of how your presence, your words, and your tone are experienced by others. And great leaders cultivate both. They not only know what's happening inside themselves, they know what it feels like to be on the other side. And here's a kicker. Research shows that 95% of people think they're self-aware. But in reality, only about 10 to 15% actually are. That means most of us are leading with blinders on. So let's talk about neuroscience a little bit. Why does self-awareness change the brain? Self-awareness, it isn't just philosophical, it's neurological. The amygdala, we talk about this a lot, your brain's alarm center, reacts to threat before you even think. Without awareness, it can hijack you. And that's why leaders snap or shut down or avoid without realizing it. But self-awareness activates the prefrontal cortex, that part of your brain that pauses, evaluates, thinks about things, has all that logic going on, and it chooses differently. Awareness literally rewires your brain to respond instead of to react. In trauma-informed leadership, awareness is regulation, and regulation is leadership. So let's talk a little bit about Abraham Lincoln. I know it's been a while. Abraham Lincoln battled what he called melancholy, but what we now would probably diagnose as depression. Instead of hiding it, he named it. And then he surrounded himself with advisors who disagreed with him because he knew that he needed perspective outside of himself. His self-awareness made him wise, and that wisdom helped him lead a fractured nation through civil war. Let me give you one more example to really bring it home for you. I worked once with a surgeon whose team dreaded his operating room. He barked orders, rolled his eyes. He left people in tears. And when he finally sat in a workshop and heard feedback from his staff, he broke down. He said, "I thought I was being efficient. I didn't realize that I was destroying people." With coaching, he changed. He slowed down. He softened his tone. He checked in with himself before barking commands and orders. And over time, the entire OR culture shifted. One leader's self-awareness changed the nervous system of the whole team. So here's a moment of personal reflection, my own awakening. I've had my moments too, times when urgency turned into pressure, times when passion turned into intensity that unsettled people. The hardest part about self-awareness is facing the mirror, seeing not just who you want to be, but who you really are in the room. But awareness is always humbling before it's empowering. Because once you see yourself clearly, you gain the power to choose differently. Here are just a few practical tools for building awareness as a leader. Because I know you're asking, hey, Krista, how do you build self-awareness? Slow down. Busyness kills awareness. Build pauses into your day. Seek feedback, not from people who flatter you, but from people who will tell you the truth. They're really the most valuable for you. Track your triggers. Notice the situations that set you off. That's where most of the work begins. And I did say that. That's where the work begins. Reflect every day. Journaling, mindfulness, gratitude practice, even asking yourself, how did I show up today? Use somatic check-ins. I am a huge advocate for this. Notice what your body is telling you. Are your shoulders tight? Is your jaw clenched? Are you breathing shallow? These are awareness cues. And here are some self-check questions that you can ask yourself often just to stay on track. What emotions or patterns show up most inside me as a leader? How might others experience me differently than I intend? Where do I need to pause long enough to notice what's happening inside me? Awareness is just the first compass point. So here's a truth. Leadership doesn't begin with charisma, strategy, or vision. It begins with awareness. Because awareness grounds the compass, and without it, you're leading blind. With it, you're leading true. So thank you for joining me on Rise Up Voices from the Frontlines, especially for these trauma-informed leadership series episodes. And if this resonates, share it with someone who needs the reminder. Leadership starts not with control, but with awareness. So rise up out of the ashes of your experiences and live and lead your life on fire.
Become a Rise Up Hero sponsor to provide mental wellness and crisis response resources for those who serve country and community. Join us in the Rise Up movement today.